That button, and that button. And hey, welcome to Discussing Tabletop. It is March 5th? Yes, March 5th.
It is the 5th, yeah.
2022. I don't mind me actually like looking down at this calendar to actually like register what the hell it is.
Imagine owning a calendar.
It's the one on my computer, thank you very much.
Fair.
I just have that activated so I can check the date occasionally and remember it. It's like, what day is it? Well, okay, it doesn't remind me the day of the week. That one I'm okay at. I actually have a weekly schedule. Except like this morning I woke up and I'm like, did someone take Aurora out to the bus? And then after like 5 minutes, because I woke up at like my second alarm, I managed to sleep through my first one and I'm like, oh wait, it's Saturday.
I slept through all 4 of my alarms. I don't know how I did it.
I slept a bunch. I was up for a little bit, and then I slept for a little bit more, and then I was up for a little bit, and then I slept for a little bit more, and I finally was awake at 1:30.
I even went to bed like 10 when I usually do, and then I was just out cold until like 5:15, and I had to rush to work.
I blame horrible amounts of injury that my back has been suffering from, which is feeling better now.
That's good.
Well, I got to suffer through. I got some icy hot put on my lower back, and then when I was out in the middle, like going shopping, all of a sudden my back is on fire.
Ooh, I love when that one.
I'm like driving along, I'm like, oh, burning pain.
Oh shit!
So that was an event that I went through yesterday. Going from burning pain while trying to drive, you're just like, back. Yeah, but I hope everybody's doing well out there. We have 2 weeks worth of stuff to talk about. Yeah, I was off last week. It was the if you missed why, that was my fault. It was the big yearly Pokemon Go event. Well, I think they have like 2 of them now. They have one for a specific game. So this was Johto, so it's gold and silver, which I'm like, I'm big on that. I that was the last game I played in the actual series of games, the main series. So I mean, you know, I participated for like a bajillion hours and killed my body.
Old Pokemon.
I caught a lot of things. It was fun.
Nice.
Anyway. But talk us in chat. We're gonna go over it, you know, as we go.
There's a lot.
There's a lot, so that's why I'm not gonna list it off. Why don't we talk about you, Momo, got a box of Kamigawa.
For the first time in like 3 years since COVID started, bought Magic cards. You know what? First off, it's a great bit of pre-COVID nostalgia that I really needed. Second, it's a really good set with a lot of really good cards. I sadly didn't pull the one card I wanted because you never do. So I'm gonna either have to get another box or just spend the $10 to have it.
Those are hard choices.
Unfortunately, I didn't pull Wandering Emperor. She's a really good Planeswalker, borderline overpowered. If you don't know, the turn you summon her, you can just use all of her loyalty abilities as an instant.
Yeah.
She's a little bit broken, but I like it.
Did she have Flash or something too?
She has Flash. She's also not technically listed. She doesn't have the Planeswalker type either, which makes her, I think, the only one that doesn't. Interesting.
Yeah, that's interesting.
A lot of the white card. I got mostly blocks of white, blues, and blacks, which is fine. That's what I generally play anyways. Go ahead. You can be mad. I play blue. It's fun.
Yeah, blue can be fun.
A lot of the white cards, they behave like normal white cards. They're low-cost creatures that do things to themselves or other creatures of the same type. One of them I really like that I got is the Imperial Recovery Unit. Whenever it attacks, you can just return a target creature or a vehicle card from your library with a mana cost of 2 or lower just into your hand. I like that. That's really cool. It's a lot of samurai and ninjas and things like that. Really cool. I did get, I think, my new favorite card name out of it. It's a black artifact, just called Enormous Energy Blade.
Look,
the flavor text on it, heavy, maybe for you. It's a +4/+0. It's really good.
Oh god. I just like there's just random references too in a lot of these cards. There's like the rat person that's kind of like the main biker from Akira.
Grease thing, yeah.
And then of course, yeah. The legendary artifact that's basically like Power Rangers or Voltron. It's like the Zord, which combines together, or the combining thing. Like they get those like such weird and great references.
It's just like a good set. It's a very feel-good set.
Yeah.
Because it's also a lot of 80s and 90s anime nostalgia.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, they're like, it's really cool if you don't recognize that, and if you do, it's the next level of cool, you know? I think that's what they did, and that's very good.
I will say. The Praetor, the Phyrexian dude.
Yeah.
Jin Gitaxis, I think, is his name. He is counterspell in creature form.
Mm-hmm.
Once per turn, he can just counterspell an artifact, instance, or sorcery.
I mean, that's not the first thing that's done stuff like that, but, you know, another one
he also has copy as well, which is pretty cool. But he's a cool dude.
Yeah. What was it? Man, there's some stuff that they could have done with this set that I would have really liked too. Like,
I will say, the other Planeswalkers are a little disappointing. Kaito is kind of not great. The new Tamio, I don't like the new Tamio. I also don't know how the completion keyword they added, I don't really understand how that works.
It's supposed to represent the mana symbol because it's sort of like it's either... It's one or the other mana or life or something. It's like advanced Phyrexian mana. It's supposed to represent, and the symbol is a lot of complexity, so it's sort of like a little much.
Couldn't quite figure it out, but Kaito and Tamio just aren't that good, which is unfortunate because I do like the idea of both of them. And Tezzeret, I think he was in War of the Spark, I think.
Yeah.
He's actually pretty decent if you want to run a blue artifact deck.
He always is great in blue artifact decks. Like
he's just good.
Technically my rainbow artifact deck, but it's mainly blue, because honestly, artifacts could run in rainbow pretty easily. It has a lot of Tezzeret versions in it because
he's got card draw. He can turn things into artifact creatures, and he's just pretty solid. But none of them are nowhere near as good as Wandering Emperor. Which, I mean, the last version of the Wanderer we got in War of the Spark was kind of garbage. So it's good that she actually has a decent card now.
Yeah, and that's interesting that they are introducing more storyline for these random planeswalkers that they introduced in the War of the Spark too, because that was kind of neat to do, to have hey, there's more out there than just our Gatewatch and their occasional planeswalker-y enemies, you know.
I also really like her story in general. I think the fact that her spark is broken and she can't really control where she goes, I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, they have good parts of the storyline for sure. I mean, even if Kaito's card isn't bad, I like his storyline.
Oh, yeah, Kaito's a cool character, but his card is it's not good.
He's kind of like the antithesis. He's a planeswalker too, but he can't he's always chasing after her, trying to find her, kind of thing. There
is no foxy planeswalker, unfortunately.
Not yet.
I don't think Tamio is a fox.
She was a moonfolk.
She's moonfolk.
So she's
she's Phyrexian now, so
so that's a thing.
That has implications for the storyline.
Yeah,
that's not supposed to be possible.
I mean, I think storyline. I've heard the lore wise that we're gonna probably see another Praetor and new Capenna.
Yeah.
Probably Sheldred, or if Sheldred's been replaced as the Black Praetor, because I know there was weird things going on there. Whatever the Black Praetor is going to be there probably because Elish Norn controls it, and Urbrask doesn't give a flying fuck. You know, he could probably be ordered around, but he's going to be I guess I can do that. But I was doing this thing over here. You know. I just like how red mana makes Phyrexians kind of just whatever. I want to do my own thing.
It is really good.
It's just like, and then the Dominaria one probably will have an entire like, oh hey, Phyrexians trying to come back to Dominaria again kind of storyline.
Yeah, probably.
We're probably not going to have a resolution of this storyline until like next year or the year after that, depending on how long they want to take it. But
yeah, but Kamigawa, pretty good set. I'm overall pleased with the cards in it.
Yeah. Again, I think my biggest complaint is I was watching the song, and it's not as good as it could be. The anime opener, and I'm like, they could have just made it like a small, like, you know, mini-series Kamigawa anime, and it would have been wonderful.
I think they should have. Like, and they might, because they're releasing more marketing stuff for these sets, they might try it eventually.
Yeah. I mean, like, certainly they could do something really cool with new Capenna.
Yeah, new Capenna.
You know, like a small like something that's like noir style animation or something, like one of those old detective thrillers. I feel like that would win over very heavy, you know. But speaking of new Capenna, I'm gonna say its name wrong. Yeah, we've heard some stuff about it. Neat. I think the big things we've heard about that is it's going to be Alara shards, which we haven't seen since Alara. The 3-color kind of groupings of stuff. And they completed the Triome lands from, was it Takir? That they're the lands that counted as 3 lands, and you could tap them on one of each mana, or you could cycle them, but they came into play tapped. So if you had like land search for a plains, you could pull one of these out into play tapped. You could cycle them if you don't need them, but apparently, they're apparently really popular because they were helpful. You know, they're very good lands still, even if they're a little slow, because they're 3 colors for 3-color decks. And also, like, they did show off the here's the like first look link if my mouse would allow me to do this here. They did show off, you know, we're going to see stuff on the story at the end of the month here. Previews are making next month. Because, of course, you know, it's a month in between everything. Because there's... I mean, honestly, even if it's just 4 sets a year, it's close in between them. And then it's got a kind of noir style. And they show off, the 2 lands of each type here.
The land cards that they're showing off are so pretty.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a 1930s like art style noir, as you were saying, Art Deco style.
Yeah, it's the Art Deco kind of architecture,
and it is just they're definitely like throwing it out there, and I'm like, man, this is just winning it over a lot. You know, I'm interested, definitely.
Yeah, if they do more sets like this, I'm really into it.
Well, I'm definitely curious of what they're doing with Dominaria, and I'm kind of actually curious because they are doing then the hit, like you can almost call it historic set, the Brothers War, which is a second set in that time period. Because again, like, you know, the story, like a lot of us old-timey Magic players know the storyline of what happens there, but is it like, are we going to see another part of it? Are we going to see more details of it? That kind of thing. That'd be interesting to see what they're going to do. But, so I mean, at least on the Magic side, Wizards is knocking it out of the park right now. We can see how they're
doing good again.
Keep going
after a couple years of doing questionable.
Yeah, they just they're very up and down, unfortunately. Hey, a company is having a convention. And they're actually having a physical convention along with the online one. Paizo has a physical convention where they're like, yes, we're maybe only showing off our goods, but we're having it like a little thing you can show up. So it's not just a press conference, a glorified press conference. You can show up and try out stuff for Starfinder or Pathfinder 2nd Edition and check out all of our stuff. Turns out, you can do a convention as a single company. You actually just have to do a convention. Blizzard learned this. Doesn't what's another company that does it? Doesn't the No, I don't know. They haven't said anything about that. Lightning. I was gonna say Stellaris. Who does that? That company?
Paradox.
Doesn't Paradox have a convention too?
Usually, I don't think they, because of COVID. I think they've just strictly done online announcements.
Well, I think also Blizzard stopped theirs because they were eaten up by a company and now eaten up by another company.
Yeah.
But for a while they were doing their own there too, which was the same kind of thing. It's a company, video game or tabletop, can do their own convention, just not online.
It's not a convention if it's online. It's really a press conference.
Exactly.
I'm also glad to see they have actual COVID safety regulations for this convention, unlike a few other ones.
I mean, the Paxos did a good job of it. It's just Gen Con was so bad.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't think we're getting any, because I don't think we're ever going to get a Starfinder 1.5. I'll be honest, because for the most part, outside of character creation, Starfinder's pretty good. Its character creation is still a little iffy, and that's honestly kind of easily fixed by a DM.
I can see them getting a second edition in a number of years, and it would be effectively because Starfinder is basically Pathfinder 1.5.
Yeah.
I would see it being like a Pathfinder 2.5 almost.
Yeah, and Starfinder itself isn't that old. It's only 5 years old.
Yeah, it's certainly I'm sure they're thinking about it in the future. Because you don't want to let your system go stagnant no matter what. I think that's a good idea to get other editions of it to prevent that stagnation. But you have to plan out appropriately when you're going to do that. It's gonna be interesting to see how it evolves overall.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I'm sure that somewhere down the line there will be things like a Pathfinder 3rd edition, but we're not seeing that anytime soon. Probably given.
Oh no, second edition is still so new.
Yeah. Give them another 10 adventure paths, and then they might start thinking about it. We can measure it in adventure paths.
Yeah. I think honestly, the main problem I have with Starfinder, and it's not that big a problem. I think its point buy kind of sucks. But you could just do different point buy numbers.
Yeah.
Honestly, and it fixes most of it.
Yeah.
Because it's point buy. It's like point buy 10. You just do point buy 20. Because Pathfinder 1E is usually just point buy 15.
Yeah.
And it feels way too restrictive.
Well, I think Pathfinder 1E was it gave you can do 10, 15, 20, or 25 depending on your type of game, and I'm I understand it's supposed to be appropriate. If you're 15, if you're 10, you're supposed to be pretty much just, we're average dudes doing a thing now. Wow, we're heroes all of a sudden. But honestly, the system is very much more brutal, and I feel maybe
I think 20 is to me should just be the default for Pathfinder 1st edition. Then 25 should be the optional one.
I mean,
because 25 is a bit much, but 20 is you will have a decently high main stat and an okay secondary stat, and you can still have okay con, because everyone in Pathfinder needs Constitution, or you're gonna die very quickly.
Yeah, I think that's the thing is I've never gone below 15 because 15 feels that's the challenged one. I just don't know how you play with 10. It's too.
It has a very specific type of campaign, I think.
Yeah.
Because I don't think any of the APs use 10. I think all the APs are designed for 15. Because that's kind of the standard one, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know otherwise. It's just...
We'll see what fun things Paizo announces at their convention.
That's going to be a thing, is to see what they announce, what the plan is, what they're coming out with. I mean, the things they've announced is, of course, it's the launch of Starfinder Society Year 5.
Yep.
Some games, their store, and a bunch of other stuff. They're probably not going to, we're not going to know their announcements till actually the con.
No. I would like to see them update some more APs to 2E.
Yeah, definitely.
There's some really good 1E APs that are unfortunately not the most fun anymore because they are shackled to Pathfinder First Edition, which can be a little too brutal for those types of games.
Yes. Certainly there are plenty of them that, they still... I think it's just that 2E removes enough of that brutality that it works better in certain places, and certainly, and I don't know.
It's also fun to play certain classes in 2E, where in Pathfinder 1E it's not.
Yes,
because Divine Casters kind of suck in First Edition because they're boring unless you're playing Element Cleric or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I never had a problem with an early level cleric, but it's like if you're playing an early level cleric, it's like you're playing a slightly worse fighter that occasionally heals a lot. There isn't a lot that you can do early on that the idea of something like a Sacred Flame or something, which makes sense, and making cantrips good was definitely
level 0 spells actually being useful instead of oh, you roll 1d3 forever.
Again, I think
that was a much needed change, but that's also because Pathfinder First Edition was fettered to the corpus of 3.5.
Well, they came out before 4th Edition, and 4th Edition's the one that said hey, you know what we can do? Make basic attacks good.
Yeah, people forget because everyone likes to hate on 4th Edition, even though I think 4th Edition's not that bad. Hot take.
Yeah.
Without 4th Edition, probably wouldn't have most of the shit in 5e.
4th Edition made a lot of really good choices, and some bad choices, I will say, too. The Healing Surge system was weird, it was different, but it was a precursor to, I can spend my hit dice in a short rest to heal up, which is good.
Healing Surge also still technically exists in 5e as an optional rule.
Ah.
It's not a good optional rule, but it exists.
Yeah. But, so... I definitely recommend,
check out Paizo's stuff. They do good work most of the time.
If you can get to their convention, cool, it's in May. If not, they do have an online version of it at the same time, which that's also I'm not something against. If you're having both at the same good on you.
I will probably be watching it at work.
Your press conference has, can watch, panels of whatever the fuck people are talking about. Maybe someone's talking about painting miniatures, and you can have that panel up online. That's not something you get normally when you're just running an online convention, because how are you going to pay to shove some people in a room and talk about this kind of shit? No.
No, you're not.
But if you're at a convention, those people volunteer to do that shit.
God,
and then you can just put it up online.
It is weirdly satisfying watching people paint miniatures.
But yeah, the thing is, if it's a physical convention, they volunteer to do that shit. You don't have to pay them.
They're probably gonna do it anyways.
I want to talk about a second edition of a game, though. I don't know if we've talked about it since the upgrade of the show and stuff, but Fragged Empire is getting a second edition.
Ooh, I've heard of this.
Yeah.
Not second edition, but system I've heard of.
Yeah, Fragged Empire First Edition has been out for a bit now. I might have talked about it more with Joe. It's a post-apocalyptic sci-fi setting.
It's one of the many systems I've considered running, but I don't have the time to run all of them.
So it's basically a century after a devastating apocalyptic galactic war, and it's kind of exploring this is what's been rebuilt. So it is there was a massive apocalypse. It's been things were thrown back to the Stone Age. It's kind of more I'd say the Fallout post-apocalyptic, where they're trying to rebuild this old tech that was there. They managed now after a century to cobble themselves back together, and you're a ragtag band of misfits travel around a sector in a spaceship, taking odd jobs and getting into trouble. The usual thing.
Honestly,
You know.
I would play this just so I don't have to play Stars Without Numbers.
That's, I mean, like,
It's kind of the same idea.
Yeah, they've taken a little bit of like Cowboy Bebop, Firefly, Farscape, some bit of like Millennium Falcon and Star Wars, a little bit of Expanse, and thrown it together in their inspirations for this second edition here. And so, it's an interesting setting. You do get occasional post-apocalyptic, but some of these post-apocalyptics are not sci-fi, which is, that's, I think, one of the difference. Like, I will tell you, I think we've talked about this, technically Pathfinder is a post-apocalyptic, but they are fantasy. And that is why, randomly, you could find, like, in a game, a laser blaster, because it's from an ancient civilization which was nuked out of existence by a giant meteorite or a comet.
Also, there's an adventure where you go to World War I Russia.
Yes, like dimensional travel or something.
You gotta go save Baba Yaga from her son, Rasputin.
Because they've broken the dimensional barrier and ended up on Earth. And it was like,
just because of that, that's like the 5th part of the adventure, but I just want to play it because of that.
Yeah, God. Oh, man.
It's just such a turn.
Give Nat a laser cannon.
That's what Nat finds on Cyclops Island, just a laser gun.
Look at this! Laser cannon. So
also, there's androids in Pathfinder. People forget that.
Mm-hmm. So it's attempting to improve everything in first edition. Some more lore, some better stats, and like the system is slimmed down and made a little bit better. They're trying to remove some of the clunk of the system and stuff, and still expand upon the world they were building. And you know what? It's cool. Good on them for working on that kind of stuff.
Yeah. It's a cool setting.
Yep. So, and there's it's 8 factions you can belong to rather than and then it's sort of like, I don't think there's necessarily okay, there's core playable species, but because it's like a lot of genetic engineering and stuff and things like that, they're kind of different. Anyway, there's a lot of choices in the game.
There's a lot of stuff.
Their Kickstarter is funded.
Something I actually like that I wish more systems did. There are specific species that aren't for players.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Which is something I wish more systems would do.
Yeah, 4 species that are playable with GM permission they have. I guess they're specialized species that would require
flesh. I like that one.
It requires storyline reasons behind it, definitely.
There's one species just called Flesh, and it's all in capital letters.
Mm-hmm. Like giants, lol. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of I think that's
technically you can play a zombie in 5e. There's rules for it.
There is there's an entire book that I have that is, do you want to play a creature from the monster manual? Here you go. You want to play a medium-sized Tarrasque that you're like a proto-Tarrasque that maybe you can one day grow up to be just like the other horrible ancient god created abomination. You can play that.
Yeah.
For shits and giggles, you're like, I'm going to destroy the universe.
Why not?
Anyway, we could talk about more stuff. Fragged Empire. Check it out. It's up on Kickstarter now. 25 days. I have 2 Batman games to talk about. One that is more interesting than the other.
God,
so let's start with.
Ready for this.
Let's start with this one, where I don't know if you've talked about it. There's the detective, the kind of crime board game.
Okay, yeah.
So this Everybody Lies, and there's the crime-solving deduction board game in the Batman universe that's kind of flavored after the detective-style board games that I think Portal did, because it's Portal Games. They've done one of these ones where you're solving crimes and stuff and things like that. So I do not know how. So it's got 4 crimes to solve. So basically, it's like there's only a number of games in the box, and I don't know like how much replayability the cases have because I haven't played one of the detective games before. But it's got 4 of them, and it's supposed to be going on the detective style of Batman. And I'm like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah, Batman is a detective. He doesn't just beat up people.
People don't remember that a lot.
He actually solves crime.
Yeah, they only remember the beating up a lot of times. Unfortunately, but true, they only remember the beating up, and, like, yes, he is a detective, and, like, honestly, if you're going to flavor a detective-style game you've already created to something, this is actually really good.
Yeah.
I'm like, cool.
You can't play Batman. You play Catwoman, though.
So I don't mind Batman, anyway. You know, he is a rich, crazy man who, like, decided to fight crime, which is kind of silly.
He could just use his money to improve the lives of everyone, but he just wants to put on a costume and beat up criminals.
It really is. Like, where did you go wrong with that one there? I mean, I guess he could technically do both, but we don't hear about the other.
He probably does charity, maybe.
Yeah, probably. I don't know. God. It is a very silly trope, that works so much less today than it did back in the day when it was created.
It's a little weird now.
Yeah, that's the good Batman game. There's also a Batman game which I don't know if we talked about, and I'm gonna just mention it again. Munchkin Batman. Thank you, Steve Jackson Game.
Yeah, of course. Of course, it's also on Kickstarter.
It's also on Kickstarter.
Weird, but sure, dude.
Steve Jackson Games likes to occasionally like throw a game up on Kickstarter, and like I think I talked to them at a convention. They're like the ones that they're not confident on, and I'm like, and then I'm like think about some of these, and I'm like I'm sus at not being confident, but also like I guess if it's for the extras and stuff that some people want, maybe that's the kind of thing that they can do. And I guess guaranteed printings also. Like, if you're not confident in how much you can print it out, especially, like, nowadays has less confidence, but...
Yeah, like, it's also Batman. It's gonna sell regardless.
It's gonna sell regardless. This is
People
very true.
People like Batman.
It's very true. It's very, very, very
Apparently
true.
people like Munchkin.
Enough to keep it going. I do like the basic idea of Munchkin, and I do like Batman, but the problem is I've already been, like, burned out on Munchkin, like, 5 years ago.
Yeah, like, there's just too much Munchkin.
Like, 1 out of, like, every 6 sets they come out with now, or 6 products they come out with day, I'd say, like, oh, that's nice, I like that, I would get that, and the rest of them are like, why are these? I don't know, it's just, it's a thing, it's more of it, it's silly, this is actually more interesting. You're not playing Batman.
You're doing the criminals.
You're being the criminals. So that's...
Yeah, you could be...
Man, now
the
you've
Riddler,
got it.
everyone's favorite.
I mean,
It was Jim Carrey once.
I mean, like, honestly speaking, that was one of the better parts of that movie, honestly. Jim Carrey did a pretty good job of being kind of crazy. But he is crazy. So,
Those
I mean, like...
movies are, like, my guilty pleasure movies.
Yeah.
They're so bad, but I love them.
Mm-hmm. It's so, like, interesting to hear stuff about those 2 movies there. Apparently, like, I didn't realize this. There was a backlash with kids and McDonald's that got Tim Burton off of the third Batman movie.
Yep.
McDonald's.
These movies have such a weird history.
They really do. Nowadays, we can create a Batman movie and say, yeah, this is not for kids, and people would be like, are these for kids? And we're like, we said no.
You can just make a 3-hour Batman movie for some reason and stuff a bunch of villains into it and release it, and then everyone will watch it. Movie shouldn't be 3 hours. That's my hot take. That's too
the
long
thing
for a movie.
Yeah, that's the thing is, like, I've thought about watching it, but it's also 3 hours, and I'm like, 3 hours. Even if I go at, like in the early afternoon when there's no one there, it's still 3 hours. Ugh. God. That, I mean, Jim Carrey plays himself a lot, and that usually works. They're relatively the same characters a lot of times. But, I mean, if you want to do, like, You're the Villain games, a version of it in Munchkin, there you go. It's Batman. If you like Batman, there you go. It's not the worst stylized Munchkin you can ask for. It's just a stylized Munchkin that we weren't asking for.
I mean, they're at least using old Harley Quinn design, which is just better.
Yes.
The one where she's actually a clown.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't mind, like, the Grab the Treasure new costume. That one's not so bad, because that's the, kind of,
still
like,
color.
Yeah, roller skate clown.
Yeah.
Let's get a new costume. Let's talk about another RPG. That's always fun. That always makes people
RPGs.
better.
I like those.
Kamon is bringing a RPG that has not been in English to English. Household. Apparently you're like, what is it? The, little people. Or
borrowers!
Yeah.
I love it. I'm already sold.
Yeah. Yeah, you take the role of littlings. Now, they say it's like creatures such as fairies or boggarts, but basically you're like...
You're a borrower.
You're a borrower. You just have different flavors. I guess some of you can have, like... You can have someone that has, like, wings or something, so you're, like, more like a little fairy, and more of them are, like, But the picture of the art is the guy with the giant key, like, using, like, a little, like, rope to hook through things, and,
It's just that one Studio Ghibli movie.
Yeah, the one Studio Ghibli movie. But apparently Kamon's bringing it to Kickstarter. It's the English RPG version of it. I mean, honestly, it's a really cool idea. The idea that, like, you're having, like, a little, like, fantasy adventure inside a normal person's house.
It's inside a normal dude's house.
Yeah, so there's just, like, some dude who's just, like, he's out there, like, cooking popcorn in the microwave, scratching his ass, and you're just, like, fighting giant spiders in the background, which is, like, just, like, a tiny spider to him, in his epic adventure. It's such a
good idea.
Mm-hmm. Oh, man. So, I don't know a lot about the original version of it, honestly. What language it was in. It was 2019 it came out originally. The Luca Comics and Games 2009. Oh, Italian. Okay, so it was originally an Italian-only RPG. So, cool. I think that's also a good thing, is there are, like, a couple of RPGs that are out in other languages in other countries that we don't get. Like, there is a lot of global release for RPGs, but a couple of them do tend to be, like, out there and not getting these translations. It's nice to finally see some of those, that they're getting English versions. They can't all be modifious and weirdly in, like, Europe and be like, we can do multiple things. Or that... Yeah. Because they're out of, I don't know, somewhere... they're nice people. They have, I think they're like,
they're British, I think.
Were they British?
I'm pretty sure they're British.
Maybe. I thought they were another country. They could be British, though.
They are British. They're from London.
There was another company that I remember talking to.
They're from Fulham, London.
There's another,
what a name.
There was another European company I remember talking to that does both. One of, like, the Viking countries. I can't remember the proper term for that anymore.
The Nordics.
Nordic countries, yes. They were nice people. They put out stuff. Anyway, so that, yeah, hey, an RPG that is really cool. Keep an eye out for it. You can be a borrower or a little person. Because there was Borrowers, that was like the book series. The Littles was the animation from was it 80s or 90s? And then there's a Studio Ghibli movie that all did stuff in this style. Which I'm not remembering that one either.
Oh, it's like Amaretti or something.
Secret World of Arietti, yes.
Yeah.
You gave me at least part enough to remember it.
It's a very good movie, in my opinion.
So, you know what? This Halloween's getting a board game. Dead by Daylight.
I hate Dead by Daylight. I'm just going to put that out here. I hate that game. It turns me into a terrible person because everyone who plays it's an idiot.
My experience is I don't want to play it, but if it's a group of people playing together against like a normal person, I'm fine with that. Or right. If it's one person playing as like the killer and watching them do that kind of thing.
I have played it exactly one time, and it made me so angry. I just refunded the game and never played it again.
I just don't think I could play it, honestly. Like, it's another one of those ones that I'd say like I'd have to play with friends. And like honestly, even with all the improvements and stuff they've done to it over the years now, the game just like, I think back in the day where I was talking with some people about maybe do it, I had it on my wish list for a while. I might have gotten off my wish list. It might still be there, honestly. I don't know. There's a couple of games like that I put on there and then never got rid of. I've cleared out my wish list a couple of times on Steam. Also, I've ended up with random games for like Humble Bundle a lot of times too. So I don't think I got this one, but it's a board game based on it, and I'm like, okay. They say Level 99's managed to adapt it. Level 99. I don't know if I know that company off the top of my head. I'm gonna check to see what they've done. Level 99. That doesn't help. Board games. Level 99 board games. There we go. Now I found the proper company. Nothing I recognize. That's the thing I'm gonna say about the games they've done. Nothing I recognize off the top of my head. So, I mean, again, it's that thing that, like, you know, the video game company finds a group that probably has done okay. Maybe, like, I'd say, like, low, they're independent studio, but they're, like, the mid-tier independent studios. They have moniker success. They've probably put out, like, a dozen games or something. They're not whatever Brotherwise Games, I think, is like the next one up, and then there's the big box studios, but they're just like, you know, crazy.
Yeah. God, I always forget that the people who made Dead by Daylight are also the people who made like a bunch of really garbage movie tie-in games for kids' movies.
Mm-hmm.
I always forget about that.
Yeah, so it's a thing. I mean, honestly, I'm going to say this. In board game gameplay, it's not a terrible idea. Like, it's sort of like, I like Betrayal because it starts out that everybody's the same and then someone betrays them, but I don't mind the idea of, like, it's sort of like the RPG style board games where there's one person that can play the DM and be against everybody else. I don't mind styles of board games like that. Generally, I don't also mind that they have ways that you can have everybody on the same team and you can have like an app or something play against them. Or, you know, I guess Betrayal, it starts out that everybody's the same team and you don't know if someone's going to betray it. That's a little different. You know, maybe someone will be the betrayer and then they'll try to murder everybody else. You don't know. But it's not a style of gameplay I'm necessarily against. But again, like, I'm not enough of a fan to be like, this is really cool. But it is like, showing that there's a lot of more than we're thinking about video games that are going out there for board games nowadays. Like, we've been talking about a few of them, like the Resident Evil ones and stuff like that. But they're doing a lot of them now. Just a lot. I'm just not sure how many they're what we're going to see. There is some, like... there are certain places that I don't think it works. Certainly. But are we going to be overwhelmed?
The more simple a video game is in its core concept, the easier it is to transfer to a board game. Like, Resident Evil is a very simple game in its concept.
Mm-hmm.
You walk around a mansion, you shoot zombies, and you solve puzzles. Bam! Board game's got all that. It works. Deep Rock Galactic. Again, very simple game. It's got a board game. Board game looks pretty good. Dead by Daylight. It's a 4v1 game. I don't know how fun that would be in a board game.
Yeah. Again, styles of those games can work, but the question is, how well have you adapted and how well would it work? You know, I don't know. It's probably not my first choice for that kind of thing, I guess is what I'm going to say. You know, probably not my first choice. But for a video game, to board game adaptation. But we'll see. We'll see. Anyway, we have something a little more adaptation-y, but a little less annoying, I guess. I don't know. Just need a really big fan of Dead by Daylight. Anyway, there's a G.I. Joe board game coming up. Mission Critical for 1 to 5 players. It's a cooperative miniatures board game.
Miniatures.
Yeah.
So expensive.
Expensive is the operable term. I don't know how much it's going to be. Only expensive. So you're cooperating to defeat Cobra. Of course, it's the basic premise of the entire thing. But they're a bunch of finely detailed miniatures that, you know, and they're going to start pre-ordering in April. So they're not even a pre-order thing. They're like, hey, we've got this thing. It's a miniatures game. You people that like miniatures, do you want to spend a lot of money on it? Great.
Good old miniatures gaming, and it's hundreds and hundreds of dollars to bar of entry. God damn. Mm-hmm. It's Warhammer all over again. So not as bad, because this is not going to be as expensive as Warhammer is.
That's true. But yes, it's neat that they're coming out with a miniatures game for it. I mean, like, Renegade Game Studios is very heavy on their licenses, but at least they come out with fairly interesting games, so that's why another reason that I'm like, you know, for those of us that have some nostalgia factor of, like, the 80s and the G.I. Joe from that time, honestly, I was more like reruns in the 90s on, was it USA? It might have been USA. Along the time around with, like, you know, the real Ghostbusters and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I'm remembering that kind of time period. It's not the best series, but it's just kind of campy and silly and, you know, horrifically unrealistic nowadays. But, you know, you can check it out. You're, I think, my last topic, because I put you to last because you're wonderful at that position. So, let us talk the next one. Wild West RPG with Haunted West.
Ooh.
It's a Wild West RPG that's a weird Wild West. I mean, that's the best way to say it. It's a weird Wild West RPG.
Nice.
Thanks, Lightning. It's set through the period from the American Civil War through the turn of the century. It provides a comprehensive look at the time period, which is helpful. That's a helpful thing for people that are going to run a game in that time period. You know?
You need to know your time period if you're going to run in it. Otherwise, it gets a little weird. Also, it uses D100s, apparently.
The Ouroboros system. A modular three-tiered system powering Adventures D100s.
That's a little weird.
I'm like, all right, that thing, okay. Well, we'll take a look at that. D100s, all right. So, Ara tells him they've distributed things like The Witcher, Tabletop RPG, the Cyberpunk Red. So this is like, they've got some pedigree on some pretty good things that they've worked on. Well, honestly, I haven't really tried out a lot of Cyberpunk Red, and I haven't tried out The Witcher one at all, but I haven't heard bad things about it. So I'll take it.
We've heard that the Cyberpunk Red system has some issues. However, it has less issues than the old-ass Cyberpunk games.
Yes.
Because those are old.
Mm-hmm. We have to thank Joe for allowing us to try one of that. He never finished this game. I guess
as much as I enjoyed trying it, it's a little too old for my taste. I don't quite have the tolerance for old-ass systems that I used to.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's a certain age to things. Like Pathfinder is still, even if it's old, it's like it's the first step in the modernization.
Yeah, it's still fine. It still feels like a modern tabletop RPG.
Yeah.
Right? Like, Cyberpunk is just so brutal and old, and also you roll everything is random, and like, don't ever do anything that's technically illegal or it fucks your character forever. No drugs allowed, or you lose your character. Also, in making a character, you can just roll badly and get fucked and have like a -3 to one of your stats forever.
Yeah, the background stuff is both interesting and also bad in a way. Like, if it didn't affect your stats, the same way, I think I would like the background stuff better,
It's just that, like, when I played my character, I rolled on the background table, and I got a permanent, like, -4 to my reflex forever. That couldn't be gotten rid of.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good for story reasons, bad for gameplay reasons. And I think that's something that more modern RPGs are better at removing, is that, like, when they have backgrounds, they only give you bonuses rather than penalties. And, like, certainly, like, there can be drawbacks to having a certain background or certain stuff in your background, but they don't punish you gameplay-wise. Yeah. They punish you story-wise, maybe, which is actually fine, because I can work with, any of us can work with story-wise punishments. That's building character.
I can punish any character in like a D&D game that gives me a backstory, then they've got like some bad stuff in the backstory. I can just use that to punish them with it, right? And there's no mechanical consequences. It's all story and narrative. Then maybe a few dice rolls are required.
Mm-hmm.
But like, you don't have a permanent -4 to one of your stats because you just rolled badly.
Yep. Yeah, the brutality of old systems. It's sort of like, I fear looking back at Shadowrun 1st and 2nd edition, because I remember 3rd edition okay, because 3rd edition was the first one that got rid of a lot of that shit, because they were on their way towards modernization. Not quite there yet, up until, like, because I think the 4th edition is the one 4th and 5th editions are the ones I usually shout out, because they're basically the same and pretty good. But 3rd edition wasn't bad. 1st and 2nd are just
God. I do not think I could ever play 2nd edition D&D. I think I'd rather just not.
2nd edition is, in a way, worse than 1st edition because it's more complex.
Yeah.
1st edition was simpler. And simpler for the brutality and the simplicity of the stats helps it in a way. Because it's sort of like, well, there's just not a lot of stats or anything anyway. They matter less. There's less of that stuff. There's a lot more of that RPG moments. And then they try to make it a more mechanical system to do a lot of that stuff they didn't have. And then that added to their weird complexities of 2nd edition and issues. Issues, yay. But yes, Haunted West. So if you want a Old West story that's all weird and Wild West, that is actually historically accurate to a degree because, I mean, they theoretically could be. They're giving you a history lesson. So, what, we had a little hiccup there? It wasn't on my end. It must have been on Twitch's end. Because I'm not seeing anything on OBS if we had a little...
Yeah, it's probably... Twitch sometimes does that. Yeah. Where, like, we'll pause buffer for whatever reason.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Which is a program with no flaws.
Mm-hmm. Which, it's like, I can't see it on my end. OBS is screaming, I'm working perfectly fine. Which, I mean, also might be a lie, honestly. I don't trust you, OBS.
OBS could be lying, it's true.
It could be lying. But, I found... this is a really good one. Star Trek Adventures has a mission for specifically doing the Klingons.
Ooh.
So it's you're playing as Klingons. Yeah. Characters being a crew of a Klingon ship. This is something, that's really good to have, because we had the Klingon core book where you can play as just all Klingons. Yeah. Oops, all Klingons, which is cool. But now we have an adventure that's telling us how that works.
Hell yeah. Probably not as much murder as you think.
Yes.
Even though Klingons are very murdery people.
They're very murdery people, but they're usually murdery for the right reason. Like,
yeah.
It's
their murder is often justified.
Yeah. They have an honor system that's kind of like a code of law. You can almost think of it as that. If you're the captain, you've broken that system, then yes, you could be challenged by someone below you, by one of your officers.
Very warrior culture.
Yeah, but like if you're having oops all victories, then they're not challenging you. You're the leader, and you're doing great, and you're leading them into glorious battle. That kind of shit. So 2 weeks since they set out for an outpost. So they don't tell you much about the adventure, but it's supposed to be like it's 2 weeks out onto a outpost at the edge of a system, and basically the crew is kind of, I guess, bored a little bit because it's a long haul trip, and that kind of thing. So it's not really a great introduction to what the hell's going to happen, but knowing it's Star Trek, something weird's going to happen. Something weird's going to happen. There might be the opportunity for some glory and a glorious battle in the name of the Klingon Empire, but, other than that, there probably also some weird science-y ship that they're, like, going to be like, let's solve it by punching it.
Probably.
And then the one Klingon scientist will be like, let me figure out how to punch it. And they're like, good point. We might not be able to punch it as normal. Exactly.
Yeah, that's exactly how Klingons act. Fun fact. Canon.
I guess not. I mean, I always feel like the Klingon scientist is the guy that's like, look, let me figure out a way that you can properly murder it by knifing it.
Probably.
and the Klingon doctors, at least, like, look, I gotta patch you up so you can go get back into battle, man. Look, just let me slap a band-aid on it. You're good to go. Get back out there, sport. There's more there's more violence to be had.
Yeah, you can get patched up, and then you can go fight some people in some very specific type of armor that's not from Star Trek, but it's in a Star Trek adventure. That old chestnut.
That sounds like
a different warrior culture.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, plenty of other warrior cultures. I mean, there might be like maybe that'll be I'll probably do a May the 4th be with Star Trek this year, and maybe there'll be like a certain warrior culture that'll deal with these weird people with strange armor or something that's very different. There just seems to be a lot of them. Man, you keep killing them and they just keep coming back. Why are there so many of them, and why are they so bad shots?
Hey, Stormtroopers are actually decent shots. They have a +5 to hit in Star Wars 5e, okay? I just roll badly.
That's normal for them, though. Mm-hmm. They're like, they're decent shots, and then they're like, and anything, they're just shooting off into space. Mm-hmm. I guess it's not all the time. They're not always bad. Hey, a Star Trek adventure. It's based on Klingons.
It's good that his adventures are good. to teach you how to play things, because the rulebook doesn't always give you the context you need on how to play something.
So, Usaopoly.
No.
This isn't
I refuse.
bad-ish, maybe? There's 2 products that they're talking about.
One of these is a weird food-related Yahtzee.
It's not. There's Disney's Sorcerer's Arena Epic Alliance is one of these things.
What a name. What a long name.
Uh-huh. Where
some of these characters aren't even magical.
And you 8 iconic Disney or Pixar characters with unique abilities that create powerful teams of newly imagined alliances. And some are evil, too, and, you know, it's like, what?
You ever want to play Gaston? He's here.
Mm-hmm.
What powers does Gaston have besides sexism?
Is Disney Sorcerer Arena a thing? Apparently this is the tabletop version of this thing. Is it an actual thing? I don't know. I've never heard of it.
I have no idea.
But
what the hell is Sorcerer's Arena?
Mm-hmm.
It's a mobile role-playing game.
Oh
it's a mobile game. There's a board game for the mobile game now. Okay.
This is making it even better. I thought this just looked weird, and I'm like, oh god, Usaopoly, you're doing too. This is not even the other weird thing. Okay. We're not done yet. Okay. This one may or may not be better.
Disney and Pixar Battle Royale. I'm gonna close this before I do that.
Avatar: The Last Airbender, Fire Nation Rising.
Oh my god.
Mm-hmm. It's just got a big statue in the middle.
That's just a big statue of Ozai. Why? Why is he here?
I like how they have a little video of it that's got it's surrounded by fire and just spinning.
What a weird.
Why?
You ever just want a weird unpainted miniature of Fire Lord Ozai? Well, this is the game for you.
It's not even I'm okay. Villain character, yes. Doesn't actually show up physically until the last season. You don't really see him until then. So it's sort of
he didn't really even show up that much until the last 2 episodes.
Yeah. So he was always the shadowy figure, kind of very emperor-y. I mean,
he is the emperor, to be fair.
Yeah. He does say unlimited power hits people with lightning.
Technically, he can lightning bend. That is in their royal family.
Yes, so he hits people with lightning. I'm telling you. I don't know if he actually says unlimited power, but he I don't
know. Mark Hamill plays him.
Yeah, he does a good evil person voice. Anyway, it would be really funny if he did say unlimited power. Honestly,
that would be pretty good.
The mobile-based battle game and this,
and then this, at least this is a board game based on something good.
Well, that's the problem I'm going to say here. Just looking at both of them, they at least both look like competent board games. That's the weird issue.
This Avatar one looks fine. I closed the other one because I didn't want to look at it.
It's fine. I have it there to sort of look at. The mobile game based game. I mean, it's fine. It's weird. I guess it's the you want your fan team of weird Disney character combinations. Woo! I'm guessing that's the mobile game, and then they
probably
have it this version time. And the Avatar one, it looks like a fine.
I honestly kind of just wondering, and I know Avatar Last Airbender is great, and Korra is mostly good, but what's with the sudden recent interest in this series again? Because there's the tabletop RPG that came out recently. There's this. There's some, I think a Avatar Kyoshi book got released.
I know the reason behind it. It's because the either Nickelodeon or like the people that now own Nickelodeon finally made a deal with Mike and Bryant, and have actually hired them on to make proper stuff that's more material in the Avatar universe.
Ah, okay.
So that and rather than just have a deal with them, they're like, "Do you want your own animation studio? Here you go. Just make more stuff." I think it's really because it's supposed to be for their online service that Nickelodeon stuff goes up on now. Is it like the HBO shit or something now?
Something.
I never know where it shows up at, but that's what's going on. I remember hearing about that a while ago, and animation takes forever. So something might come out this year or next year. I don't know. I think they were doing the first thing they were doing was be like a like an hour-long TV movie that's set somewhere in the universe or something. So I think they want to do more stuff set in the universe and timelines and stuff like that and all that kind of shit. But
all I know is like if they do an Avatar Kyoshi series, that shit can't be for kids. Like that book is real fucking violent.
She was a crazy lady that did a lot of.
She's like just an 8-foot tall woman that just murders people.
Mm-hmm. That's how she solves problems. Murder.
That is how she solved all of her problems when she was Avatar, was by violence.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was a different time period, Avatar: The Last Fluidity. I mean, I hope not. I'm gonna say that here.
I hope not.
That's probably somewhere online.
That'll be when they make a Netflix show.
That's right. Netflix is still doing that.
Yeah, that'll be the Netflix show because they're like gonna fuck it up, and it's gonna be as bad as the one M. Night Shyamalan movie was.
Ooh, you're right. I mean, they did drive out those creators, and because they wanted it.
They really did, yeah.
Whatever the fuck they wanted it. Well,
I mean, the Avatar board game looks like
it's fine.
Mostly fine.
Usaopoly,
you sometimes do okay things.
Both of these things seem okay, honestly. I don't... Look, the Disney based on a mobile game, that's weird.
That's just weird.
That's weird.
This one is fine, though.
But it doesn't look like a terrible board game, and this one looks like an okay board game, so...
It's no spam Yahtzee, though.
Oh, God. I keep saying to them, it's like they're the company that gives and torments rather than gives and takes, because they give you nice things occasionally, and then they just torment you with Spamopoly.
You can't hate them, because they do release some decent and good products, and then the rest of it's just trash.
Mm-hmm. But our final thing was something we've talked about, and someone put to Kickstarter, of course, the Marvelous Mimic Mansion. A adventure for 5e for characters 3 to 5 levels. Oops, all mimics.
Oh, hell yeah. Mimic Mansion.
Oops, all mimics.
This fills me with joy.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I kind of want this just because I scrolled down a little bit and there's stat blocks for a potion mimic.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I just want more mimics, more stupid mimics.
Mm-hmm.
I almost got someone with a door mimic the other day. But
mm-hmm. And I like the idea of it too, that yes, it's not a murder place. They're there's some mimics that are just they're just there or doing their own thing. It's like
they just chill.
Mm-hmm. But you just don't know which is going to be dangerous or not until you encounter them in the Oops All Mimics dungeon.
Mimics the dungeon. There's a Ravenloft playing that's all mimics, apparently, in the new Ravenloft. Well, newish Ravenloft book.
Yay! They have the Mimic bookmark, too, that you can get as an extra if you scroll down. It's just got it's a bookmark where the bottom of it is or I guess it would technically be more the top of it is teeth and a tongue. Oh my God.
I like this kind of stuff. It's silly. It's also fun, so pretty good. Good for them.
Oh my God, a wooden DM screen with actual metal hinges and stuff.
Oh, that's actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
Also, to get the adventure, just $5.
Mm-hmm. the like wood log mimic coaster. God,
I do like that.
Why do they have really good products with it, man? Fucking...
It's like such a meme, but then they've got like actually really good shit with it.
Like even the stickers are really nice. Beware the mimic. What have they done? I'm eating. It's less cold because it's been like an hour. But I'm eating cold ravioli. That was my lunch. Leftover ravioli.
It's fair.
Mm-hmm. I didn't feel like making anything from the fridge.
Ravioli is a pretty good lunch.
I know. And like, you can just eat cold ravioli out of the fridge, after the meal you had with that. It's pretty good. Sauce not required. Anyway. So oops all mimics. Is it funded? I didn't check. It's funded.
It is funded, yeah.
They only wanted $765 for this one. They're like, look, we only need a little bit of printing money or something. We're good. It's funded. 68 hours to go. So if you want to get in on the mimic action or get some of their weird products, which do look really good.
They do look pretty good, yeah.
I'd say go for it. You only have a couple days to go. Docket leads us into our deeper discussion, which didn't show up in the docket.
No, it's not in the docket.
It should have been.
We don't know what our deeper discussion is.
I thought I put it in there. Maybe I didn't. Oh, I didn't hit the submit button. Whoops. That's on me. There we go. So now it should work. I was going to be, leadership in groups of players.
Ooh,
as a topic.
One.
Yes, because the thing is, not every player group is created equally in a RPG game. And
some people make meme characters, and that meme character doesn't really do much leadership stuff sometimes. And that's okay. Yeah. Some people make characters that are in the background. It's also okay. And some people make the face character, which usually often defaults to being the leader character.
The problem is that more than one person can make make a face type character, and then you can have leadership problems, or you can have someone not make a face character, and then you don't really have a leader in the party.
Yeah.
I think the issue of leadership in player groups, the reason that it's here is less for you can have leaders in a player's group and that you can have problems with leaders in a player's group. And I think that's where I want to discuss this for, and how to help DMs solve those problems. My back, I have to refold this thing. I guess it's getting into summer. I don't need it up as much anymore. This, but it's still cold out.
It's still a little cold, yeah.
Yeah. So if anyone wonders, that's why I have this here. Because my back of my chair is mesh and is good for breathing. But during the winter, it means that my back is colder. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. If your team naturally creates a leader or has a natural leader, the thing you also have to worry about it is, you as a DM might have to kind of watch that a leader doesn't take control of a group.
Because that's the bad type of leader in a party, is when a player takes control of every decision rather than a character doing it.
Yeah. And it can happen in a group with a leader. That's the downside of a leader, is not all groups work as well as a kind of democracy for a group. That's kind of where you want things, but the situation of an adventuring party certainly pertains itself to having issues with everybody making a decision.
Yeah.
It's, you're not a nation, you're a group of people, and having someone that's the face make important decisions for you isn't necessarily a bad thing. Now, if they're a good leader, they'll go and talk to everybody before making a decision and be maybe address the group, especially for important ones. And then maybe just for minor decisions, just go with whatever seems best for the group. That's a good leader.
Yeah.
You don't always get those.
No, you don't.
Leadership arguments are a terrible thing. I had a character who was ruined by a leadership argument.
Oof.
I will tell you, I think I've talked about the nostalgia of the first game I played in Faerun before. And there was a lot of crazy stuff in it. It was a lot of fun. My second character was the one I really liked a lot. My first character, I think I mentioned, had a really crazy backstory. The first 2 sessions, I was a kind of de facto leader because I was the only one with charisma. Because I was a sorcerer. And I think I had, like, a rank in diplomacy or something like that, you know. So I was like, I could talk to people if we needed to. And, like, honestly, like, it was, our team at that point in time was, local town idiot who was a really good fighter. Random cleric who apparently was pretending a ship was their own that we stole, who was really hired on by that ship, which I was very like, oh yeah, you know, I detected that they were lying. You know, it's just like, whatever, you can be on board the ship. And that was our local. Then I was like, sure, you can be our cleric then. And then like a random not sea elf who just threw a severed head that we got off the side. We killed someone there, you know, when we were escaping and stealing the ship.
Naturally.
Then their head fell off, and we just knocked stuff overboard. And he threw the head back on ship and went, "Not in my ocean." And that's Joe.
Nice.
And I'm like, "What are we polluting your ocean with severed heads?" Look, it was a red wizard. That was a red wizard. We killed the red wizard. They're evil slavers. They're evil wizards. You know, if you know Faerun at all, they're bad guys. We did kill him. You know, we were doing good. But we technically ran away because there was a lot of them, and we only killed that one. Just saying. Anyway, that was our kind of team. And then there was the sudden introduction of, like, the third session of another guy that was somehow stowing away on the ship. And he's like, I'm your leader now because I'm charismatic, and I took levels of Gale. Because that was an option in 3rd edition. I'm a Celestial and better than all the rest of you, but I have amnesia, and I only know I've got these weird powers and don't remember I'm a Celestial, and why I'm here.
Oof.
His backstory was stupid too.
I've been the designated leader character a couple times. Usually because the story... Because I play a lot of charisma characters. Not so much anymore because I don't have the energy for it. But I always kind of play that type of character that, like, will take charge. But I always ask the other players, are you okay with me being the leader? And in character, I always go through and ask every character if they think this plan is good and I want your input on it. Right? So it's a very democratic system where we talk about our plans, right, for the big stuff.
Yeah.
I've also been in games, I'm not going to name a game or the player who's doing it, where there were arguments over what to do, and it kind of ruined that game pretty badly, and also ruined a pretty significant chunk of my character's development.
Yeah.
And also there was a lot of shouting, and I didn't like that.
No, I don't. I don't like that shouting, and I think that's the bad. Like, I tried to avoid a lot of that shouting back in that game. That was the worst point of it, where like one player who wasn't even there at the beginning just basically took over, and unfortunately, I've had situations like that happen. I've had people, like, I will tell you, I had a game where someone came in for, like they were going to be there for, like, a 5-session arc, you know, that kind of thing. They came in and basically steamrolled the team. And not only did they, like, ruin it for the 5-second arc, because, like, I was like, hey, a bunch of our family members have been kidnapped and taken to the Abyss by Loth, because we've been fighting against her forces this entire time. We're, like, 15th level now. I'm like, I think we're like 13th level or something. I'm like, I don't think we're powerful enough to dive into the Abyss and go after them. You know, as long as we keep a low profile, maybe we can go get some, like, magic weapons or artifacts that can help us fight her, you know? Let's be smart about this. And then the one person who came in was like, no, they got my mom. We got to go after them. You there that has an ability to, like once a month to create a portal somewhere. Create a portal to the Abyss. All right, we're in the Abyss.
You know, that seems like a terrible plan.
It was. Things went terribly.
Yeah, it's almost like the Abyss is a terrible place.
Well, there was an entire thing where we went on there in a pirate boat. so we only were in the watery areas. And then we figured out there was a way to shrink my boat down. But the problem was, we didn't know about that, and we just activated it and it shrunk down. And my character, not knowing what the fuck happened, was like, oh wait, I just killed everybody on there, including an NPC that was on board our ship that was my sister.
Ooh.
I'm like, we just killed everybody. And they're like, we're fine. We're going to be okay. Let's keep going. And I'm like, why would I think that? Why?
Good lord.
It was so bad. It just ruined the entire game. And that was someone coming in and steamrolling the game.
Jeez.
Because they wanted the leadership position. And my character had been the type of, what is everybody going to do leader, you know? Because I was the captain of the ship.
Like, that's... In my opinion, that is the ideal quote-unquote party leader, is the what does everyone think? And then they will take every suggestion and decide on it.
Yeah.
That's the ideal. But you don't always get that, unfortunately.
I mean, and even if you have like an opinion that you're more weighted towards, you're going to say, this is what I think we should do. Yeah. What does everybody else think, you know?
Like, this is a really good example. Skulls and Shackles. We have a captain. His name's Jakul. He's not really the captain. We just call him that.
Mm-hmm.
The actual party leader is Cell's character.
I mean, if Umber is there, he argues with Cell's character a little bit, but like they're friendly argument. They're not like yelling match.
Like Cell's character Revia is a very good leader in my opinion, because it's a very democratic discussion on plans with a lot of input from everyone. Yakul's plan, often ignored, because it's usually go and kick down the front door.
It is very true. We could just punch him in the face. Good suggestion.
Here's Yakul's suggestion of, I could just punch them.
I have a big hammer. I could hit them with it. Yeah.
It's a very diverse group of opinions, and oftentimes we just end up doing kind of a mixture of things, because we have the side of the party that's stealthy, then we have Yakul, and then we have me, who's like, we could just use guns.
we have two people that are just like, we could just fight them, and then like
we could just fight. I'm a Marine. It's kind of my thing.
Yeah, and I think that's where it comes into. Those are like, we've talked about. Kind of, there's that like takeover, there's the arguments, and then there's like the friendly discussion, the democratic, that or what you kind of want to be at. But there's the also problem of like, you can get a group where no one's really the leader, and then like you can have problems motivating a group, you know.
So in my Sunday game, we don't really have a leader. And what that has become is we're the most indecisive fucking adventuring party, and we just half the time get nothing done in a reasonable amount of time. Yeah. We cannot make a decision to save our lives, because it's like we don't have that guiding voice in the party to listen to everyone's opinions. It just is like conflicting opinions constantly, but not in an angry way.
Children of Wrath. There is no real leader in that group.
No. Like, I feel like Cole could become some form of a leader. However, what he is witness of this group is, I just need to make sure these fucking idiots don't kill themselves or rip another hole in reality. Good lord.
Yeah. It's like Claude goes along for the ride most of the time, and then like it's sort of like Carrie and Kaz are kind of the de facto leaders, only because they have the motivation of, we really hate these guys, let's find out about them so we can punch them more, you know. And then they're like, along the way they're like, ooh shiny, ooh shiny, ooh shiny, you know.
They're like, Kaz and Carrion are the D&D character equivalent of just actual ADHD.
They are. Oh my god, you're right. I gave them a motivation, which they're sticking to, and pretty well. But I gave them that. If I didn't give them that, they would be just wandering around with willy-nilly, because there is no leader. And there never was.
I'm just thinking of like their motivations and stuff. Like, for the whole party, Claude, he just wants to have brain things and be in tune with his many souls inside of him, which is pretty weird.
Yeah.
But he is also a monstrosity.
He is.
Carrion, I don't really know what Carrion wants in life. I'll be honest, Cole doesn't really care.
Yeah, Carrion, I don't think she knows what she wants in life. She's got, like, there's a lot of stuff that's been thrown on her plate of, like, hey, you're like of, like, 3 ancient bloodlines that are really, like, important, and so, like, you could claim up to any of those bloodlines. And she's like, I don't know if I really want to claim up to any of them, Which,
honestly, in its way, that's kind of good character building.
Yeah.
Eventually, you will have to make that decision.
Yeah. Do you want to be a horrible demon lord? Do you want to be of a royal bloodline of Urborg? Do you want to be a line of a second royal bloodline of Urborg that's of how powerful death necromancers?
Yeah. Pick one,
Pick one. That of Chestnut.
And then Kaz's reason, he's at least going for Shiv, is to go there, call his dad a cuck.
I mean, his current reason is also like, we should really go to Urborg. I want to build an airship. We can steal some parts from a destroyed one I know about.
Then you got, like, Cole's reason, which is the most serious is, hey, Phyrexians are back. That's bad.
Yeah. So someone's bringing back Phyrexians. That's bad. Granted,
you should tell someone.
My storyline isn't like new Phyrexians coming back. Mine is like there's a minor insurgence of like leftover agents.
There's some Phyrexians here.
Yeah.
They did bad things.
Yeah.
We should probably tell someone.
These are leftover Phyrexian agents, so they're not like the full-blown, Praetor types, and they're like, yeah, we can get together and be like, do our own thing here and like maybe get control. See, they're not trying to destroy the world. They're probably just trying to have some global influence and, maybe conquer some stuff.
Not a good thing.
Still not a good thing. Less, global.
World-ending.
Less world-ending, but still not a good thing, And they also convinced the horrible completed angel to, like, help them out.
Yeah, that's, not okay.
Yeah. I mean, like, she's probably the worst out of all of them, honestly. But, they've made a deal to keep her in control.
At least there's not like a Praetor involved or something.
Yeah. There's some pretty nasty things I kind of set up, but none of them are particularly like super global ending. At least that's the way I established it here, with the villain set they have, and they've got that one guy who's joined the villain team that they like beat up in a desert and then decided to become a villain against them. He escaped and claimed vengeance, and the villains found him and made him better. And maybe like, you can join us now and get your revenge. Yes! Mwahaha! God. They do create their own problems too a lot.
They do. From what I've seen of Wrath before I joined, it was a lot of, well, this is the consequences of my own actions.
Honestly, there's a couple of consequences that I'm just going to keep in the wings that I don't know if I want to use. Like a giant dragon monster they created now.
Yeah, I don't know how to deal with that.
An evil flesh-stealing fae.
Yeah, that's also a thing they did.
Yeah. She's been making a skin suit somewhere because, she lost all hers in the transition between planes.
She's just mad she lost all of her skin just once more. She wants her skin back.
Yeah, but she's kind of gone crazy,
Yeah.
Just going about it in probably the wrong way. She's basically Buffalo Billing it, at this point in time. And probably going to graft it to her with magic rather than just wear it as a suit, but,
The problem that eventually someone is going to have to deal with.
It might not be them. That's up to them. They haven't decided to go after her. They've said they've washed their hands of it. I'm not going to bring it back if I don't need to. Maybe I will, if there's a time for it or something. But I've actually shown Wrath. I have to say, like, as much as it's still going to be a little long because they take forever, I actually have a pretty distinct storyline of what I want to do. That there is Shiv that we're visiting now, and then only 3 other places I was going to have him visit, and I was going to call it a day. That's it.
Fair. Just have my wife show up randomly.
I could if you wanted to.
Yeah,
We can talk about it. Yeah, we'll figure it out. Probably more towards the climax or something.
Oh yeah, probably.
Yeah.
She's a mega powerful druid.
Yeah. She probably knows Nim, who's also a mega powerful druid.
Yeah, honestly, like, I'll be honest. There's a small chance that my character has met Nim. Because of my line of work.
Mm-hmm. Well, he's technically an old school planeswalker like character that I introduced that just... The reason he doesn't show up anything else is after Freyalise dies, he chose to never leave Dominaria. And Freyalise
met planeswalkers.
And Freyalise died during the Mending, which is what got us to having planeswalker cards. So if he doesn't planeswalk anywhere, what's the point?
Yeah.
He basically, took over for... Well, it's like... It's the old chestnut of he came from a culture that worshipped someone as a deity, met his deity, eventually learned that they weren't a deity, still respect them like it, and then wasn't there for that person when they died.
I mean, like, I've played a character that's met their own god. It's weird.
Yeah, you know?
It's even weirder when you then learn that they're not actually a god.
Yeah. And then like, you learn, like, wait, I've got powers similar to yours? What? That's... What? You know, that's gotta be confusing, and, like, for your life and all. And, that was Nim's life, you know? They like to call him the Playboy, even though, like, I'm like, he dated, like, 5 people over 2,000 years. That's a Playboy?
Oh, that's, like, way less than probably average.
He had a platonic love with the dragon lady, because they're like, we can't get together physically. We'll just travel together for, like, a couple hundred years. And they're like, you're banging him. And I'm like, what?
It's not...
They're very sex-obsessed.
It's not how that works, you know?
But yes. So, leadership in groups. It's a thing that you have to kind of...
No matter what game you're in, you're gonna deal with it at some point. So, like, it's best if you establish early on what kind of leadership direction the group has. Like, you should really include everyone on the decision making.
And the thing is...
Unless it's a character who just is like, do whatever. Because those characters exist, right?
Yeah.
You don't always got to include them on it.
And the thing is, it also could end up being that it's like, you're the leader of the group as the DM, you know?
Yeah, I definitely... Like, it's not something I've dealt with often, because I feel like in Star Wars, you and Lightning's characters have that kind of leadership role at this point.
Yeah.
Because you're kind of the two actively doing things.
Well, it's sort of like, I'm more, I want to see where this goes kind of thing, and Lightning's like, I own the ship.
Literally owns the ship.
Yeah. So, we kind of have to be the leaders, like... Yeah. If Lightning wants to kick us off, Lightning can kick us off. I'm like, I'm actually not against that as my character. I'm like, look, if you want to come along, you can come along. And then from that, it's just, where can we bring our 2 murder hobos?
And where can you take this weird Gungan and Demon Man?
They do want to murder a lot of stuff, and I'm like...
God, they did some war crimes.
I didn't stop them. We'll talk about that in a second, but I didn't stop war crimes. It wasn't in my character to stop them from war criming. At that point in time, because honestly, I probably have very little love lost for the Empire.
I don't think anyone in the party does.
Yeah. I'm from a certain order that got murdered off a lot. So I probably saw a lot of, friends and stuff murdered horribly, and, opportunity to get a little bit of that, like...
A little revenge.
A little bit of treat. I wasn't going to do it myself. I'm not that bad, but I wasn't going to stop someone from doing it. Anyway, but, yeah, so, you're going to have to recognize, as we said, the leadership version of your group, like, who's the leader... If there is a leader, and if there's an argument, you're going to have to do something about it. Things like that.
Yeah, as a DM, you have the power to step in and stop arguments.
Yeah. And even if, like, your team doesn't... Like, even... The other thing is, you can have it that your team has a quotation leader, but you're still the leader. There are games like that, too, where, like, the entire establishment of the game is, you're working for someone. That's something... like, I've been in a game where we're mobsters. If you're mobsters, you're working for someone, They're ordering you around and telling you kind of what to do. You're making minor decisions. You're never making those major ones. So, there are those teams. Should we talk about our 2 weeks in tabletop then?
Yeah, we had some tabletops.
Do you have anything on any Sundays?
Sunday, I did have one game. We are robbing a crypt to get me things so I can do necromancy.
Sweet!
Had fought some weird skeletons. And our halfling rogue, I'm pretty sure at the end of this dungeon is going to be stabbed and murdered by literally every party member.
Ah!
Because he keeps fucking with graves and waking up undead.
Yep, that's a wonderful thing to do.
And we're all probably just gonna murder him, or just leave him in the crypt.
I mean, you can only piss off the rest of your team so much before you're in trouble.
Yep.
Anything on a Monday? I don't think
I don't do anything on Mondays.
I don't think I do either. We have Star Wars on Tuesday, and I don't think there's anything else on Tuesdays.
And Star Wars is Tuesday. There were 2 sessions of that.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. First session, I was kind of dealing with the aftermath of your raid on a quote-unquote Imperial base, where you blew it up, and an old man sadly, tragically lost his life.
Yeah, he'll be remembered.
You went to good old Timo the Hutt, and gave him a prisoner, and then the prisoner was savagely murdered.
Yeah.
I mean, what else was going to happen, honestly?
Yeah, we weren't gonna stop it.
Technically have stats for him if you wanted to fight him, but I don't know why you would.
Like, I'm gonna say honestly, there was some interest in, your very strange, conundrum of a character that exists, and, but I'm like, you're also probably not gonna give us any answers, and honestly, we're on the Outer Rim. I don't want to, if we don't need to deal with this shit, I don't want to deal with this shit, and it's much better just to, offer you up to our local hut and get gone good with them.
Yeah, he did get in good, because now he has a big fancy set of purge armor to have on display in his throne room.
Yeah. Got some nice armor to put up. One more dead guy.
You basically, went to, it's a rebel base.
Yeah, we went to a rebel base.
You're hired by rebels.
Yeah.
And you're doing some jobs for them, and he sent you off to Hoth to go and do some things. And that takes us into the second session, or as I like to call it, the violation of the Geneva Convention. They're all in Hoth. They stole some walkers off some dudes who they exploded because one had a big old flamethrower on his back. And then they stumbled upon some Imperials being absolutely murdered by Wampas and decided we'll just let them fight it out.
Yep.
Then they fought a Wampa. The Wampa ate the Gungan temporarily.
He was delicious, apparently. We'll have to keep that in mind just in case we ever get really hungry.
In case he's extra rations.
Yeah. Gungan, surprisingly delicious.
Then you found some Imperials who were trapped by a Wampa and decided to lie to them about who you were, get them to open the door, fire a flamethrower through the door, and then fire a mortar through the door. And then the one guy that survived just step on him with a mech.
Yeah. Look, as I said before this, I didn't participate. I just didn't stop anybody. So, look, our 2 war crime, the Gungan and the Demon, Demonian, I think is or something?
The Deveronian or something.
Those 2, they wanted some war crimes. I'm like, well, if you're going to... And I stood there. I didn't finish that sentence. I let it happen.
And then you got 3 prisoners who were like, yeah, I don't want to die. So they threw their weapons away, and they sat in the corner. Then you went and fought another Wampa. And then it died, because they're actually not that strong. Although it did charge 80 feet up to a Gungan, and then died.
Well, we had the mech
then landed on the Gungan.
We did have the mech still, which helps a lot. You
did have the mech. And then the 2 people you told to watch the prisoners didn't watch the prisoners, and 3 of your mechs were stolen.
We really can only take 1 on the ship anyway, so it's okay. And honestly, we got what we came for.
You got what you came for. You have 1 mech. And
they probably thought us either rebels or scavengers that were just stealing stuff.
I'll just tell you this: they saw your faces, they know who you are, and they just went to an Imperial base.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna leave them alive anyway, so I mean,
they did see you commit some war crimes. So to be fair, they've done plenty of war crimes themselves.
They didn't see our Imperial person's faces, and they are stormtroopers.
To be fair,
horribly
no one can see your Imperial's face.
Yeah, they are horribly racist.
They are.
So they might just be like, it was a Deveronian, a Plowan, and a Gungan. The Gungan's recognizable.
The Gungan is probably the easiest to recognize.
Yeah. Me and my Deveronian associate, we can at least pull ourselves off as maybe we're less recognizable because of reasons, and
like
racism.
God, I just was so surprised how quick they went from 0 to war crime.
I mean, I think I suggested it out of game though too, because I was just like,
it was very funny.
I'm just like, we could just burn them all.
Yeah, that was Star Wars. Star Wars is just a bunch of memes. It's great.
And then we had 2 sessions of Skulls and Shackles, Buccaneers of Shacklesea.
Mm-hmm.
The first one was very
it was downtime.
It was downtime. They went to Port Peril. Honestly, which is, I'm going to say is really interesting because you're going to be going back to Port Peril at the beginning of the next adventure because...
makes sense.
The current Hurricane King rules Port Peril, basically. And if you want to be a free captain, you're going to have to go talk to them. And that's something that basically at the beginning of the next adventure, I'm going to have Ambrose tell your characters, being like, all right, I guess we're strong enough. If you guys want to become a free captain, we can head to Port Peril and talk to the Hurricane King.
Makes sense.
We visited there already, So, you went there you went there for pleasure, not for business.
Kind of business. We had to hire mercs.
Yeah. But there's surprisingly, which I didn't have before, I found out there is a complete thing of Port Peril in the 3rd book, in the back of it. So I have a lot more information on it, because they don't have that online.
Of course they wouldn't. Why would it exist online?
Like when you Google it, it's like they have a couple of paragraphs or something about Port Peril in the Wikipedia, but they have this huge goddamn thing of 5 or 6 pages in the next book. I'm like, God damn it. I forgot that you had to go to Port Peril, honestly. I haven't checked skimmed those books in forever. I skimmed them back at the beginning of the adventure just to get an idea of what they were. But that's not remembering stuff. That's not reading up on it. So now I have to actually do that too. So.
Yeah. That was that session. It was a lot of downtime.
Yep.
It was fun.
And then you fought a horrible plant monster.
Fought a plant monster that is immune to lightning.
Resists
and has 10 fire resist.
Yep.
And also, Yakul should not be alive.
Honestly, I will agree. It came down to a dice roll, and he had to roll a 17 to survive.
Yeah, Yakul should be dead, but is not.
Yep. Well, honestly, he failed his acrobatics check. I gave him the dexterity save to basically be like, okay, there are ropes on your deck. You could probably use one of those ropes, not to catch on, because you're falling pretty far, but to, maneuver yourself above the water. He did it. He got that check, which I put it DC 20. I think that's exactly what he got. I got to take a drink of water. And then he made his...
There was the DC 22 swim check or something.
25.
Shit. 25 swim check, and he rolled a 28.
Yep, because he rolled a nat 20 on it.
And he took no damage.
Yep. He took no damage falling into the water. He basically did an epic swan dive. Granted, if the water was any shallower, he could have possibly, died. But the water is canonically deep enough that he survived.
Good for him.
Yeah. It was
a very interesting display. Also, we beat a plant to death with giant rocks.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough battle to both run and
I think
fight.
We made the best plan we could have.
Yeah, no, I liked your plan. You didn't have a team that really could fight it. There were some other strategies that could have been used, honestly. But, I feel like that was probably the best one you did. And it's that honesty, there's not really a lot of other great strategies to do in that circumstance. And, again, your team's not built for fighting something like that, which makes it more of a challenge.
It's also very far away, so...
Yeah.
I had like a -4 to shoot it every time or something with my gun.
It has a pretty high AC.
Yeah, it does have a high AC.
Yeah. So. Yeah, it's unfortunate that... Well, you did actually do some damage early on. That actually did matter because it never healed up the damage you did, I will tell you.
Yeah, it only had like Fast Heal 2 or something.
Yeah, it only had Fast Heal 2. Even your Fireball did some pretty decent damage to it. It failed its reflex save, honestly. You know, it got blown up in the face, you know. You didn't, like, roll huge, but, like, the Fire Resist 10 is all that came off of it. It's like it's like if it would have made it save, you know, honestly. So, it did a decent job.
Yeah. Like, I think the fight was okay for the most part. It's one of those fights that exist in Pathfinder Adventure Paths. They're a cool idea, but the execution on paper is a little not great.
Yeah, I agree. They're very hard to execute decently. And not be deadly to your team, especially. Like, there are certain strategies that I thought I could maybe do, which I felt was just outside of what the plant would do from the way it's presented, honestly. Like, dragging people up to its mouth to bite. I'm like, why would it do that? It's feeding with its tentacles.
Yeah.
You know, I could see it, like, dragging the desiccated husks up to its mouth to eat them.
Like, once it's done.
Yeah. It drains all the fluids, and then it's like, why else would it eat it if it's draining the fluids through tentacles? Well, maybe it's like, it's got kind of almost internal compost, where it, like, lets the bodies rot in its gullet to, like, you know, feed it that way. That kind of makes sense as a logical thing. It just has, like, almost a little, like, thing of decaying corpses in its body to, you know, get it some nutrients that way. That kind of makes sense as to why a giant plant monster has a bite attack. You know? I'm trying to think logically. And then, you know, so it went okay. Then Thursday, did you have anything else on Thursday? We didn't have. We had one session of Wrath.
We had one session of Wrath. I had one session of the game I run, and they fought a demon and won. And things, and they think someone's betrayed them. And that's kind of. I don't remember too much of it. No, I didn't run this week because I wasn't feeling super well.
I didn't have Wrath this week because Maz has been traveling, and then it just sounded like Fish was just having like a really tough day, and like he's like, I got to do a bunch of errands, and then I can find out if I'm free. And I'm like, you know what? You're already feeling tired, and now you have a bunch of errands, and we're already down one person. Let's take a week.
Yeah.
I know. Just take a week. But the previous week, you guys got to Shiv, and you got into the Goblin Lands, which are civilized. You know, the Shivan goblins are doing their best to build civilization. They're just, canonically, in any universe, goblins are relatively bad at it. You know, they're good at certain things. Like, that's one of those things that you probably will discover. They've probably got a lot of weird, like, Kaz is the only artificer amongst the goblins. Because they live around it a lot, you get a bunch of them, you know? But they're not, like, architects. And, like, you know, things like that. Well, your goblins are cool. You know. Well, I mean, like, in Magic worlds, goblins are usually, like, very, unfortunately, kind of second class. Honestly. They're very few worlds are they actually treated much higher up on the totem pole.
Yeah. It's just the unfortunate nature of goblins.
Yeah. It's, just, you know, they've always been the same kind of establishment in second edition or first edition AD&D for how goblins were portrayed kind of stays with them a lot. Now, granted, you have better versions of them along the way, and, like, you know, I've tried to be like, hey, the Shivan goblins are trying to bring themselves up from their bootstraps. It's just they haven't reached those levels yet, you know? So, like, they have, like, you guys came in with a wagon, the guy in charge of trade showed up to try to trade with you. You know, he's like, oh, you're here for trade! You know?
I loved that guy because it did, like, something I really like. I tried to scam him out of 10 gold, and then he scammed Carrion out of 10 gold. He's like, I just got some free shit. You know? It's like, you want guides? Yeah, then he just scammed Carrion.
That's great. Look, you know, it's It's the you guys try to trade him shit to like get 10 gold. And he's like, so you want some guides to help you out? There are dragons about. Been a couple young dragons. And you know how they don't listen to their elders, and they try to like eat all the people and stuff and like ravage the land because they're like, we can show off we're powerful. Yeah, we have some guys that could help you out. Just for 10 gold. He didn't laugh evilly, but I could have had it.
Business genius.
I mean.
That man has economics proficiency.
He probably does. It's probably like, look, I imagine having like an 8 intelligence and like a really high charisma and then like a proficiency in some kind of like economics ability or something, just to like actually roll some skill checks on it. So he's the charismatic idiot that knows a few things, who learned enough.
Yeah, who learned enough.
So that old chestnut. It's interesting because it's sort of like, if you want to display that goblins are always displayed on that lower end of the table. Even Pathfinder, like, there's the goblins that travel in amongst like human races, but if you ever go to like a place that's owned by goblins directly, it's not good in Galarian.
No,
honestly, they're not.
Typically isn't.
The ones that are civilized are like considered the ones that moved into like human towns and learned like human stuff well, and they're like, yeah, we left our tribe was idiots, or something like that, when you're not really don't want it to be that way, but like really it's unfortunate that it's unfortunate a lot of like the same with the other ones. It's like the Uruxi, which live in like really weird, the lizard folk as they're in the second edition, they live in like tribes on the edges of like society. They can become civilized and you can play one, and they're like, we can get along with the rest of the races. It's like, that's why I've been playing one in my Pathfinder 2nd Edition game. My plotline is, I'm trying to bring back like technologies and stuff back to my tribe to improve them. I helped negotiate a ceasefire between the tribes of my territory. Now I want to ensure that legacy lasts by bringing back like gifts of like learning and stuff and stories, of our people and things like that. That's a good storyline for helping other people. But it's like, yeah, you can have a more primitive culture that gets along with the more advanced cultures because they are connecting with them now. The lizard folk, at least, they've had like a lot of xenophobic nature, and it's only like recently that they're beginning to be less xenophobic, and that's why they're reaching this point in time and you can play the characters. It's like, yeah, they suffer from horrible xenophobia for most of their ages. Those that you're playing as an adventurer are those that are like, hey, maybe we shouldn't hate everybody else. The warm bloods are okay. We can learn stuff from them. They've we had a civilization. Anyway. So but yeah, so I've been trying not to be too bad on the goblins, but it's like, I'm sorry, it's hard not
goblins.
To be. Yeah. Do you have anything on Friday?
I did have one game on Friday. We did things and stuff. We are building alliances and getting people together to go kill undead.
Ooh.
We fought a necromancer on a boat, and we did a very bad thing. Maybe a little bit of a war crime.
Ooh.
So this spell called Revivify.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't require the soul to be present or to want to come back. It just forces it back. And we have this mage who feeds off of magic and wants to get a little bit stronger so she can help save the world. So we kind of brought a wizard back and had her eat him.
Okay, then. Wow. Yeah. I guess it's because... I guess the idea of Revivify is they haven't been dead long enough to know whether they want to not return or not. It's sort of like, you've been dead for like, a minute. Your soul hasn't really decided anything. We're still in transition between the...
It's like pretty messed up, but it is literally the fate of the world, and this guy is making undead and helping the problem exist. So, like, it's still bad, but it's not as bad.
Well, I saw it this way for Star Wars. The Geneva Convention doesn't exist.
Yeah.
The Empire has done far worse than what we just did.
In the world Lightning runs, the Geneva Convention isn't a thing because the gnomes haven't done anything bad enough to require it to be a thing yet. Gnomes do a lot of really bad things with technology.
I can see those rock gnomes committing gnomicide at some point in
Yeah.
time.
And then we're on a little mini quest for my character to go get support from all the various shrines of Kitsune Land, and our manager's like, "Hey, I can teleport you there." And then she teleported us there, but she teleported us there, and now it's we've time traveled apparently by accident. So now we got to figure that one out.
Wow.
Lightning has basically put the party in the setting I'm making, which is that plane, but 1,500 years in the future.
Wow. Jesus. Welp.
We've been records of evil. We've been sent to the future.
I mean, you can do it sometimes. It's just it's not an easy thing to do. Like, I think I've always talked about how Records of Evil, it was kind of hard. We had to like skip over so much of like, there's that first couple of sessions of like, what's this? What's a car? And then you're like, okay, you're fine. You can't linger on it long.
We're probably not going to be in the future for like as long as they were in Records of Evil.
I don't think they ever returned. Nah,
they're probably going to return. One consequence of us going to the future. So because of timeline things, magic above 5th level no longer exists. We're literally the most powerful spellcasters in existence on the plane currently.
Wow. That's a thing.
Yeah, that's... Also, spellcasting is all spontaneous now, so everyone knows all of their spells. So we have a wizard, a cleric, and another wizard who suddenly have every single spell they know prepared in their brain.
Wow.
And that's really bad for them, because they're in pain.
Jeez. That's some crazy shit. Fun with time travel. It works sometimes. You gotta make it work.
That was Friday, and then we missed last session because I think people had prior obligations. Because I think Cell is traveled home for spring break or something.
See, like, I imagine, like, I had the really good ending for Legacies of Kain. For Records of Evil, I just still imagine, like, somewhere down the line, this baby's like, "You must change me, servants." Yes, my Dark Lord.
Probably. That's not my problem.
What will the Damien on them,
Friday.
Yeah. Tomatoes. Anyway,
Friday game is going in interesting directions, and I wasn't expecting time travel.
No one ever expects time travel. I mean, unless you specifically tell them that there's going to be time travel, no one expects time travel. Like, I can remember I had a game where we started out in normal Galarian, and we time traveled to Fallout Galarian.
Nice.
Because apparently somewhere along the way, the plan was they pulled a Lavos, and the Tarask showed up and was basically destroying the world, so they nuked it a lot.
Probably the gnomes that nuked it.
Probably.
Gnomes are dicks.
So that was a thing that happened in that timeline that we did. And then, there was a lot of other crazy shit, like, a weird angelic version of the Fallout Brotherhood of Steel.
Oh, also on Friday, that happened technically in that session, is my character has somewhat mended the horrible relationship she's had with her mother.
Oh, that's nice.
And also, just as an aside, my wife is a goblin in that game. Well, future wife. She didn't time travel with us, which I'm sad about, because she's like a forge cleric.
So. Anyway, I think that's it for our week in tabletop, then. Probably not missing anything. So, I think we're good to go for today. That was a good session of speaking. Session of speaking? Oh my god, English escapes me so much.
Yeah, Lightning is right. My dragon aunt traveled to the future with us, not my goblin girlfriend.
Yeah. Dragon aunt. It's... There's a lot of weird...
I got a weird family in that game, dude.
Look, it's not as bad as the game I was talking about where I was that captain that we got taken over. I was a half dragon, and my sister wasn't.
Well, that's weird.
Because my mother ended up having a fling with a copper dragon, because they were on the same boat adventuring for a while. And the copper dragon also appeared in man form all the time. And
Fair.
then later on had a fling with another character on the same boat, like an elven paladin or something. So yeah, and so yeah. And also I don't know if it really came up, but also my mother was would it be best described as she would have been half drow, or because the storyline was that my mother was the sister to a character I had in another adventure, and she had been I think my father had left the surface and escaped the family, and ended up with a new family on the surface, because my mother in the Underdark was a bitch, honestly.
Fair.
And probably took it out a lot in me, and that's why I was hey, these ancient horrible we had some we're not enough demon blood to be tieflings or anything. Also, they don't think they really existed the same way in 3rd edition. So it's
they were a little different.
Yeah, they were a little different. There was half demons, but I was hey, this demonic force that was once in our bloodline, I'm gonna go seek out these artifacts that'll reawaken it. That's a great idea. These demon shards, so I can get power to show up my mom. Fuck you, bitch. Also, because I'm not that evil either.
Yeah. God.
But I found my half-sister paladin, and then she ended up with, a dragon and then some other paladin at one point in time, and, had 2 kids, and, my sister was a healer, and the healer class, if you don't remember 3rd edition, gets a unicorn companion, because all they do is heal.
Yep.
So, that game also had the famous line of, I have to punch this unicorn for the greater good. Because someone mind-controlled the unicorn to try to jump off the side of a ship. So, anyway, those are adventures. That's D&D, when you have to be I have to punch a unicorn for the greater good.
D&D is when you go and meet your sire, your father, for the first time in 50 years, and then the first conversation you have is, oh yeah, your grandmother fucked a dragon.
Yeah. Good times. Anyway, I hope everyone has a great rest of your Saturday. I might be doing something tomorrow. We'll find out. If I do, I'll announce it in Discord and Twitter. I'll see how I'm feeling. But for now, I'm going to pop off. Thank you for joining, Momo. Join us next week. Join me at least next week. Maybe Momo, maybe some other people. We'll find out, as we go through it. For more Discussing Tabletop, expect Buccaneers Children of Wrath to be on the schedule, 8 p.m. EST on Wednesday for Buccaneers Shackled Sea, 9 p.m. EST on in the evening for Children of Wrath on Thursday. Probably going to be doing some more Final Fantasy IV and more Pathfinder Kingmaker. Because Final Fantasy IV, it's fun-ish, but it doesn't engage me enough to keep my brain awake, especially with a lot of random battles, I've noticed. While Pathfinder Kingmaker does keep me awake if I'm tired, because it aggravates me.
That's what I've heard about Kingmaker, it's just aggravating.
I feel like the dice are weighted, that they show these rolls, but there's 1, 1, 1, 1,
nice.
1, and then oh, and there's a 20 in there too.
That's just how Cell experiences all D&D.
Apparently. I don't know how you lived through that. I'm almost out of water. Good timing. But anyway, farewell for now, folks. Goodbye. God, English. Excuse me.